Scores were really, really good, but defensively they were terrible,
Yes.
right? You've seen that.
Yeah, totally.
So now that they're understanding the defensive side of the game is, I think, more important than the offensive side. Now you'll be able to compete. So if you're thinking about where do we go from here, this is the question you're asking.
Yeah.
I think we have to understand first, what do we really need to be competitive, that we can be competitive today? Does that make sense?
One of the things, though, that I think China has experience in is just what you're talking about, is they were in fourth place with the Great Wall. And it was their goaltending was the only thing they had. They didn't have a strong team, they didn't
Yes.
even have great defense. It was one goaltender who dominated the world. And you know, so that experience, they need to take into this new team and find another Great Wall.
Yes.
You need to have one.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard to find, but that's the truth.
The other thing I think you need is a short-term plan
Yes.
and a long-term plan, because the Olympics are coming quickly this time,
Yeah, they must have played.
but they're also coming down the road, so, you know, the short and the long-term plan. And certainly in the short-term plan, incorporating where the players could come from. There's some here,
Yeah.
there's some on various teams
Yes.
in China, and, you know, how to identify those and then make some strategic decisions. Where do you want them playing once they're identified? And
Yes.
there's obviously gonna be some extras. Do you want them dispersed on teams? Do you wanna bring them into
Yeah.
one team, and at what point do you wanna do that, and where do you want them to be playing? And then putting the financial parts to it. So, and there's various options, various ways of doing it, and that's one of the biggest debates internationally in hockey right now. Is the best place for a player isolated on a strong team and then come back to the national team, or to play in the country and bring the level of the country up to that level of player, so.
The other thing that I think you really need to have when you're selecting this team, because we all know that you haven't done that yet, is the best people to be able to put those dynamics together. Because sometimes the best player, as Wally says, Haley was a really good player but didn't know how to play with her teammates. That's so important.
Yes.
And it's going to be very important to your team to have players that can play together, that are gonna get along and be able to work out a system together. You know, I just know when we pick our teams for nationals, that's so key. And sometimes, you know, people complain that we haven't taken some of our better players, but they didn't fit in the dynamic of that
Yes.
team.
Yes.
And that's so key that
Yes.
it's gonna be very important to use. And one of the best people that can do that is not here this weekend, but we all know him very well, is Brian. And he works with these three guys all the time, but he's very good at being able to put those lines together that can make sense
Okay.
and have those players identified to working together. He's very good at that.
Yes. That's a question what I would like to ask. You know, according to our women's team in China, for example, like this year's World Championships, we just appointed the head coach 1.5 month before, and that coach from Switzerland, he just coaching our men's U20 team to get a gold medal in. That's why he came to our women's team. But he doesn't know every single women before 1 month before, and he never coaching women's team before.
Women, that's right. Big
So that's why the performance of the World Championship is not very well. And right currently, there are three teams. There are three teams in China. One is one team is from Harbin. You may heard the city.
Yep.
They are right now. They are training in USA, the Whitecaps in Minnesota. They went there 2 months ago. And another team is Chichihar. Chichihar. The head coach is a Chinese coach.
Yeah.
They regarded as their the player's father, because that coach he just treated this team by his own money.
Yep.
15 years old, when the players are from the kids.
Yep.
And right now to a team. And right now the government, they pay money to maybe they will come to Canada here.
Yeah.
And this is the second team, and third team the KRS. But KRS, there are some Canadian Chinese and some players from Finland or other countries, and around 5 or 6 Chinese players. But those players are already retired and they're coming back. So there are 3 parties of the team, and the 3 teams have their own coach, have their own head coach. So, for example, how the short-term target is next World Championships, which will be held in Poland on March, at the end of March. In my view, to find the correct, suitable head coach is the most important. First.
Very important.
Number
Very
one
important.
priority. Yeah.
Yes, and then how the coach can pick up the players who fit his like a coping strategy. So, but
Yeah, very, very true.
this
Very true.
You know,
and this and my there are right now there are 2 options, like 2 minds. Our leaders, the leaders of the Ministry of Sports, maybe they don't know ice hockey very well, but they think that those good players, they should train together for maybe 5 months, half a year, long-term training together to compete maybe in one league in United States or in CWHL, for example, like Carriers right now in Russian league. This is one option. Second one, for those clubs, those players should separate in different clubs and play with higher international players together to improve their personal skills first, and maybe 1 month or 2 months before the World Championships they get together and to just to fit for each other. So there are two minds. So we don't know which is suitable for. But normally in Canada, right now, those players, they play their own teams, their own clubs, and 1 month or maybe 3 weeks before the World Championship, they get together
Yeah.
and just follow. But this is a normal way.
Yeah.
But in our Chinese, our leaders, like ministers, vice ministers, they think, oh, because we only have a few good players, they should know each other very well and practice together and compete together.
The problem you have
Yes.
though is that if you bring them together, where do you do that? Because in China, you have no place
Yes, that's
for
right.
competition.
Yes, that's why I listen to the Whitecaps.
Yeah, but
But the Chichar team, the head coach, they don't want to give maybe one line the best player to
5 months.
to the Harbin team, because I have my own team. If I give my best player to the Harbin team, I don't think they can,
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
And
each
that's
other.
where, what Fran talked about is you
Yes.
need to build a structure in
The structure,
China
yes,
that you have control of that, so
Sure.
that now the teams don't decide.
mm,
It's like us, when we pick a team, our kids are playing on Wally's team or Perry's team,
yes, yes,
and we say, no, we want this one and this one,
mm,
and they're coming to us.
yes,
But we try to work with those teams so
Mm.
that the player can still play with them
Yes.
for what's important to that team
yes,
and be able to come to us when we need them.
yes,
So that's what you need to be able to do, is be able to say to Chichihar, we need those players
Mm.
for our national program,
yes,
but when you want to go to a competition,
Mm.
they can play with you as well.
yes,
So then they work together, and so they don't mind training them
Yes.
for you, so that when you need them, they've had the training, but they come, prepared.
mm.
But if you build a conflict, that's not gonna work. You have to
Yeah.
build a working
It is right now the
relationship,
conflict.
yeah.
Because from our high leader, they think that the domestic or your local team is not important.
Yeah.
You have to serve
It's
for the
very-
country.
but-
You have,
But you need to make them understand,
I
if you wanna
understand.
grow the program,
sure.
that has to be very important. Yeah.
Because actually there are only 2 teams, Chichai and Harbin. And these 2 teams, we have our national games. They are very competitive because they are all
Rivalry, rivalry.
Rivalry.
opponents.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, if right now the national teams are leading by Harbin, and you ask me another team, my opponents, give my best players to train together for half a year, the other team, they don't want to cooperate
It's a
yet.
conflict.
What's
It's very difficult for us to handle, you know.
It's important though, if you decided to have your best players playing on Chichir and Harbin and the
Yes.
other team, that they're getting all the components Wally mentioned.
Yes.
Because their coaching staff and
Yes.
their, you know, whether you're monitoring them as Hockey China or whether
Yes.
you're monitoring with the coaches, that they are doing these logbooks, they are doing all the various components that he went through, because every one of those is important for these players.
Sure, sure.
So there's one question I have here is, this camp is North American
Yes,
players.
yes,
In the Olympics, I think you have to know that in the Olympics, in the time you've got, you have, what, 2 world championships before the Olympics?
Yeah.
So you need that kind of short-term planning. And if you decide on